So let me just give you a walkthrough. Where it says browser, browser refers to the browser you're currently using. If you're using something like an old browser, this would show you red. Red means something there's a problem somewhere. So to give you a more vivid example, I currently have my Puppeteer script over here. So this is Puppeteer, and I'm going to change this to like an old browser, something like 121. So there was a Google Chrome version called Google Chrome 121, and that browser was like how many years ago, right? So if I kind of launch my bot again, this time around I'm launching it so it heads over to browser scan. I want you to pay attention. It's going to show like there's an error over here. So the error you're currently seeing is because of the old version of the browser, because realistically each time like Google brings a new browser, after a while certain browsers become deprecated. So what I simply mean is that if you use your Google Chrome, for instance, after a while it will tell you to update to the latest version of Chrome, that the one you were using before it's no longer being used. Now it must force you. You can't. There's no two ways about it. But if you're using Puppeteer, or if you're trying to use Playwright or Selenium, or if you're trying to spoof your user agent, you might make the mistake of using an older device, something that is no longer supported, but somehow you were able to use it because you were able to modify your user agent, or because you're able to use a web automation library. Now, if that's the case, you would end up making the mistake of using that user agent that otherwise would have not allowed you if that was a real browser. So that is why it would often show you, red. But now let me see, go back to this same script again, which is this same script over here, which is the Puppeteer script you can see over here. And now let me try to increase the Google Chrome version to the latest. So I'm going to do to the latest, which is like 3.6, and I'm going to save it over here, and I will launch it again. Now it will pop up, but this time around you will no longer see that error from the browser side, because the user agent is showing a more recent browser. It will show you white. So white means there is no detection whatsoever. So this is one of the reasons why when you run your Puppeteer browser on things like browser scan, it shows you that there's a detection. Maybe you are using an old user agent. Okay, now let's talk about the second one. You're not currently seeing it here, but you could run into this issue, and the issue is with platform. So for those of us who are currently new into web scraping and automation, a platform basically refers to your device. So for most people, this could be like real. Like I've seen people who do this device farm. So if you don't know what a device farm is, there's this set of people who would have like lots of devices, like real devices, and they would head over to keep them in a show glass, something that looks like a show glass, different devices, just like this. So they'll put them in something that looks like a show glass, and they will start using them to stream, maybe to watch videos on YouTube or on TikTok, maybe to watch, or to listen to Audio Mac, or to listen to Apple Music. If you listen to some rappers, they say something like you use a streaming farm. It means your views are not real, your views are not legit. You're actually faking it using streaming farms. So a streaming farm is like the way you know a real farm, but unlike a real farm that has livestock and agricultural product like beans, rice, and all that, a streaming farm just has lots of devices. They will put them into so many show glass, so many rack, and then they will now use those devices to drive streams, like do normal things people would want to do, like stream or automate certain kind of task. Now the thing about this activity is that it became so bad that there have not been a standard process. One of those standard processes that if a device is too old, they call it, a bot. So once your device is very, very old, they will just assume that what you're doing is not legit. Let me show you an example. So we're going to go back again now to browser scan. On browser scan over here, you can see that the platform is showing Mac OS. This is because we're currently using like a real Mac, right? Like a real computer, right? I'm currently on my Mac over here as I'm making this video. Now I'm going to right click and I'll head over to inspect. And when the inspection comes in, I'm going to change my device. So currently right now, Mac, but I'm going to change it to something like an old device. Let's try something like the Samsung X8. If anybody has used the Samsung X8 here, it's a very old phone. It's like how many years ago? The phone is kind of outdated at the moment. I don't know who uses a Samsung X8 again, but it's actually even more recent. We could use an older device. But the example is if I launch Samsung X8, because it's an old device, it will usually be using an old Android, except maybe you've updated it. However, most people who do web automation, they don't actually browse to know the latest Android. They just copy user agents and use default user agent. So the user agent you often see on the internet would usually be the one that the phone came with. But as this phone keeps getting updated with latest Android, the user agent will keep changing. However, those places you used to go and copy the user agent, they don't bother to change the Android version. So if that's the case, you will likely see a detection here. Now, what you're supposed to do is to just check the latest version of whatever X8 uses and update it on the user agent. So just to show you an example, I kind of made a Google search. So I went to Google and I told Google to give me the user agent of Pixel 9. This is just so I can prove a point to you. So Google said that this was the user agent, that this one now you're seeing right now is a user agent. Well, when I scrolled down, I noticed that Google was giving me a user agent that uses Android 14, but at the moment, the latest Android is Android 15. Google also told me that the user agent, which is the one they generated for me, uses Chrome 1.20. Chrome 1.20 is so 2 to 3 years ago, or a year ago. I think it's a year ago or thereabouts. So practically, if I try to search for user agents, I would likely get the ones that are incorrect. So let me prove it to you. I'm going to copy this user agent over here. And if you're familiar with web automation or if you're a web developer, you know you can always add new devices. So I'm going to click on edit and I would come here and I'll add a custom device. So I'm going to click a custom device over here and I will now write Pixel 9. So I'm going to put in the user agent and I'm going to paste it and I'll click on add. So it has added it. Now, if I come back here and I inspect again, if I go to this section, I will not be able to see that Pixel 9 that I just added, right? So let me zoom in more so you'll be able to see. So I'll be able to see that Pixel 9 I just added, which is over here. Now, if I select that Pixel 9 and I zoom it more so you can see, I will refresh the page. Now you're going to notice something. On the Pixel 9, you will notice specifically that what Google told us has put us in trouble. The first one is the browser. The browser is showing browser 120, which means old browser. The second one is showing Android 14. Pixel 9 doesn't use Android 14. So this is one of the dangers of kind of goggling these things out, because most times you will get a wrong results. Now you have to keep running this over and over again, doing all your research till you're able to get the original device user agent. So on Pixel Scan, the first one and the second one are usually user agent based. If your user agent has a old browser, or the Android or the OS, which is the operating system, is old, it will give you an issue. Let's say, for instance, if I'm cloning to be what is it called again? If I'm cloning to be Windows and I'm cloning to be Windows XP or Windows 7, this is an old and outdated Windows. I shouldn't be using Windows 7 or XP at this particular time. So the platform will give me like a red. If I'm also using an old Google Chrome, it will give me like a red. Okay, now let's talk about time zone. Time zone is actually very important because most people get to mix it out, but I think this is one of the most important part of web automation and scripting. So these platforms, they want to actually get to see if you are a real device and if you're coming from where you claim to be. So one of the things they do is they combine and compare your proxy time zone with your device time zone. So if you have a computer right now, that computer has what we call a time zone, like a default time zone. This is the time that is actually on your phone. Like let's say on your phone, on your computer, there's a specific time. Now, however, if you're using a proxy or a VPN, it could kind of give you, a different location. Say you're using a proxy server, for instance. The proxy is going to be showing that you're from somewhere else. Now, bot detection systems, they combine the time. If the time is showing that you're from some other place, let's say some other country, and the the time on the machine is showing that you are in another place, then it gives you a detection. So I'll first of all refresh the page so it will be able to update to normal, because currently I'm no longer emulating whatever user agent I was before. So you see there is no detection system now, or there is no detection. However, I'm using Starlink. So if you look at here, you're going to see that I'm using Starlink. And if you look at my location, it's showing Nigeria. So I have a VPN over here. I'm going to switch on my VPN, and the moment I switch on my VPN, I'm going to refresh the page again. Now you're going to notice that once I refresh the page again, this time around, you're going to notice that there is a difference. I'm going to be in the US because that is where I turned on my VPN. But you also notice that the time zone has, been triggered. This is because my computer, which is this computer I use over here, which is a Mac, the computer I currently use, the time zone on this computer is West Africa, Lagos, because I'm in Nigeria and I'm currently using this computer in Nigeria. So the time in Nigeria is, West Africa. So if I want to pass this detection, there are two things I'm going to do. I would either go to my settings, which is on my computer right now. I will turn on my settings, and I'll go to my settings and I will try to change my date and time. Now, if I can change my date and time to match whatever date and time I currently have, this error will go off. So let me head over right now to say, let's say, what location is it showing me on my New York? Okay, good. Let me come and say New York time zone. Now, if I go to the New York time zone, it says, okay, New York time zone is GMT -4. So I'm going to come over here on my time zone and I will change it. It's showing automatic. It uses my original network, but I'm going to change it right now to New York time zone. So let me see if I can type New York. Okay, New York, United States. So good. I've updated my time now to New York, United States, which is good. So if I go back again to browser scan and I refresh the page, because my time zone is now rhyming with my proxy, I will not have a detection error. So this simply means I've been able to bypass this detection. However, I'm going to restore it back to avoid any confusions on my computer. Okay, so this is practically the first three on the detection system. This other one over here is practically trying to guess the location you are from what is it called again, from your location. Like if I come here and I try to open this, it will show me that I'm somewhere in the US or thereabouts. So it's combining both my my time zone, my user agent, and blah blah blah. So I'm going to switch off my VPN. So I'll disconnect it. I'll go back again and I'll refresh the page. And because I'm currently using Nigeria right now and I'm no longer claiming I'm in the UK, sorry, I'm no longer claiming I'm in the New York, you'll be able to see that there is no detection. Okay, so let's go down. Now, this place is saying proxy. It says proxy as yes. This is a very tricky one. So most times when you use certain kind of devices, especially like Starlink, because I currently use Starlink over here. So Starlink, it's a residential ISP. So Starlink gives connection to homes. It's like a Wi-Fi. Starlink is a Wi-Fi. So because it's a Wi-Fi, most people uses it as a proxy. So that is why you're seeing proxy over here. But you shouldn't really bother yourself much with this one, as the only people they penalize are people who use residential proxy. But this one should not bother you. Now, where it should start bothering you, it's when you go to a place like IPscore. So there's a place called ipscore.io, and what this place simply just does is to show you if you're using a real IP or not. So currently right now I'm currently using my IP, and so because I'm using my real IP, which is my Starlink, it's showing me that I'm using wireless region Lagos proxy force. So it sees it as force because this is a residential ISP, right? However, I'm going to try to on my VPN again, and I'm going to be claiming I'm from the US. Now, the moment I refresh the page, because I'm using a proxy right now, you're going to see something. Everything is going to change. It's going to now start showing that, I'm using a VPN. This is the VPN I'm currently using. If I even scroll down, sometimes they can even guess the VPN you're using. I've seen so many times where it will even tell me that I'm currently using NordVPN because that's what I'm using. So practically, what I'm trying to say is that on browser scan, just ignore where it says proxy yes. Sometimes it kind of marks Starlink as proxy, and that's false positive. You can see I'm still using a VPN, but it's showing me proxy no. So it's not really good with detecting proxy. So if you're a software developer trying to do web automation, just ignore that guy over here with proxy as their own API. It's not too good with detecting proxy. Okay, so we're going to go to the advanced part right now, which is the bot detection. So all we have done so far has just been our browser fingerprints. Browser fingerprints refers to what the browser looks like, right? Like, is this browser real? Is the device real? Is the browser updated, or is it an old browser? Is it a real Android, or is it an outdated Android? Like, it kind of checks the device itself, right? Now, if you go beyond that, we start getting into where it kind of detects if you're a bot. So at the moment, you can see it's showing that there is no bot detection. It is because it is noticing that there is no bot detection. However, I would want